Hello, everyone. Here with me for this demo, I have Kelsey from Panoplai. Before I hand it on over to her, I just want to remind you about that Q&A box. If you have any questions, you can pop them there, and we'll get to them at the end. But Kelsey, I will now hand it on over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Bridget. Hello, everybody. Nice to be here with you today. Excited to walk you through the synthetic data capability at Panoplai. As you can see on screen, we have a video that we're going to show you about our solution. The video itself takes about 12 minutes, and then we'll leave the rest of the time at the end for questions. So excited to get started. Hi, I'm Kelsey Whitehead, VP of Insights and Innovation at Panoplai. Panoplai gets you from data to answers, all in one platform. We bring together survey collection, data ingestion, synthetic enrichment, digital twin creation, and interactive reporting, so you can see the full customer story faster, sharper, and with confidence. Synthetic data isn't guesswork. It's modeled insight built from what you already know. It's built from real first and third-party data, using what we already know to model what's likely next, even when new data isn't available. Because in research, every answer sparks new questions, and sometimes you don't have weeks to wait for fieldwork. You need answers now, answers you can trust to be accurate and explainable. When incidence is low, budgets are tight, or confidentiality is critical, researchers face tough trade-offs. Scale back the study, delay decisions, or rely on instinct over evidence. But synthetic data changes that equation. It doesn't replace reality. It amplifies what you already know. It helps you do more with what you have, extending real data, filling small sample gaps, and improving accuracy through validated, explainable models. And if you've ever weighted data, filled missing responses, combined small samples, or used past results to forecast what might happen next, you've already used the same logic behind synthetic data. We've just made it simpler, smarter, and more accurate, ready to run at scale. So what makes Panoplai different? Most synthetic data solutions are built one model at a time, manual, bespoke, and hard to repeat. We took a different approach. At Panoplai, we designed a system that automates augmentation at scale, continuously learning across studies, data sources, and categories. Because at its core, Panoplai is the human data engine, built to model how people think, decide, and change, securely, transparently, and with accuracy you can trust. Let's take a closer look at how the engine works. You're probably sitting on a mountain of data, some used, some forgotten. With Panoplai, that data doesn't stay dormant. Every file, dataset, or transcript you upload becomes part of your data universe, a secure environment that automatically links all your data sources together. That means any digital twins or synthetic augments you create will automatically draw from the full picture of what your organization already knows, without extra setup or configuration. From there, the human data engine connects your data universe with the Panoplai data universe, our library of over 50 million validated question and answer pairs. That connection gives your models richer context and intelligence, allowing Panoplai to generate synthetic data that reflects not just what you've captured, but what's statistically and behaviorally consistent beyond it. Panoplai can ingest nearly any format: surveys, spreadsheets, transcripts, reports, briefs, behavioral logs, CRM exports, or unstructured text, and unify it in a single modeling environment. Any data ingested and any synthetic data generated is treated as your intellectual property, secured inside your private environment and fully under your control. When you ask a new question, the engine goes to work inside your connected environment, identifying relevant data, summarizing key patterns, vectorizing content for modeling, and extracting schema to map the shape and meaning of your information. This transforms your raw data into a structured, machine-readable format that's ready for modeling, without raw data ever leaving your private environment. Once your data is organized and structured, the engine expands its view, connecting your data to the Panoplai data universe. That broader context helps the model recognize patterns, fill gaps, and strengthen accuracy. Most systems stop there, relying on statistical imputation to patch missing data. That works for top-ups, but it can't capture nuance, tone, or emotion. Panoplai goes further. We read and interpret structured data, open-ended responses, sentiment, and behavioral cues, creating outputs that sound and feel human, not mechanical. Then comes model selection. Where others lock you into one large language model, Panoplai is fully LLM agnostic, systematically choosing the best performing model for the question at hand, and validating that choice over time for reliability and accuracy. And because Panoplai isn't a black box, you have visibility into what powers your results and the ability to refine those outputs for your specific business needs. Finally, the modeled response is delivered securely back into your environment, governed by your ownership rules and protected as your intellectual property. Panoply's governance framework ensures every model interaction meets high standards for quality, security, and accuracy, with built-in validation and feedback that strengthen performance over time, even when your foundational data set is limited. Unlike black box systems, Panoplai is built for transparency and integration, securely connecting your data, enriching it with synthetic insight, while keeping ownership in your hands. That's the human data engine in action, a governed, explainable, and flexible system built for enterprise scale. It's what allows Panoplai to generate synthetic data responsibly and accurately, learning from real human behavior while protecting every layer of privacy, security, and ownership. Now let's see what that looks like in practice. How you can connect your data, run a synthetic augment, and visualize results instantly inside the platform.
Inside Panoplai, there are 3 ways to extend or create data using synthetic modeling. We'll walk through each, what it does, when to use it, and how to run it directly in the platform. The first is vertical augment, adding more respondents to an existing study. This is especially useful for low incidence audiences where fieldwork would be slow or expensive. By adding modeled respondents that mirror your real data structure, Panoplai strengthens stability and supports statistical testing, all without collecting new responses in field. The reliability of a vertical augment depends on the quality and robustness of your foundational data. And because these modeled respondents are added directly into your existing data set, your analysis updates instantly without creating a separate file. Here's how to run one. Click into the study you want to augment, then select Edit, Get Data, AI Augment, and Enrich Data. Choose Augment Existing Questions and either select specific questions you want to augment or all. Choose your end size and then click Submit. Your modeled responses will appear within minutes, seamlessly integrated into your study. The second is horizontal augment, adding new questions to existing respondents. Think of it like a virtual recontact, expanding your questionnaire to capture new attitudes or behaviors without going back into field. Panoplai models likely answers for each respondent based on their existing data patterns and integrates these modeled results directly into your study. To run a horizontal augment, open your study, select Edit, Get Data, AI Augment, Enrich Data. Choose Create New Questions and program the additional items you'd like to include along with any skip logic. Scroll down, confirm your total end size, and click Submit. Within minutes, your new questions are populated with modeled responses ready for analysis. The third type is true vertical, a net new synthetic study. It's built and launched just like a traditional survey, but instead of going into field for human respondents, Panoplai generates modeled responses based on your foundational data and the Panoplai data universe. The resulting data set lives in its own study with its own results, giving you a fresh layer of insight. To run a true vertical study, start with a new or draft study. Program your question, and then go to Edit, Get Data, AI Augment, and Grow Data. Fill in your audience name, the number of responses desired, the language, and the country of the participants you desire. Next, select or build your audience. Review the qualifications and quotas, and finally, click Submit. Within minutes, your new synthetic data set is generated and ready for exploration. At the platform, it's always clear which data is real and which is synthetically generated. Synthetic responses are clearly labeled and can be filtered, grouped, or excluded from your analysis at any time. You can view the origin of each record and see which modeling method created it, giving you full visibility into what's real, what's synthetic, and how both work together to power your insights. To bring this to life, let's look at a recent example. A global candy company used Panoplai to close regional sample gaps and extend their concept testing data with synthetic respondents. Facing low incidence audiences and tight timelines, they applied vertical augmentation to strengthen statistical confidence and horizontal augmentation to add new diagnostic questions, all within the same study environment. The result? validated synthetic responses that expanded their dataset in hours instead of weeks, enabling deeper analysis, stronger comparisons, and faster decisions.
Because accuracy is measurable, we've compared real and synthetic datasets side by side, collected and modeled at the same time to ensure true apples-to-apples comparison. In the candy company example, synthetic results aligned with real human responses over 93% of the time, measured using mean absolute error. Quantitative accuracy proved most sensitive to the nature of the question, not its format, performing strongest on attitudinal and concept evaluation questions. Here's what that looks like in practice. Take the question, how often do you chew gum? On the left, you're seeing real survey data. On the right, responses generated through Panoplai. Both were produced concurrently, and the synthetic distribution mirrors human behavior almost identically in rank order and proportion. And here's another example, a more emotional, attitudinal question. How much does chewing gum improve your mood? Even as the question shifts from behavior to emotion, the synthetic pattern still holds the same shape as the real responses. Panoplai's modeling doesn't just reproduce frequencies. It reflects human nuance and sentiment even when emotions are involved. We also evaluated qualitative alignment, comparing open-ended synthetic responses to real human answers, again, generated at the same time under the same study conditions. Synthetic data performed especially well on the number and quality of themes surfaced, and on how realistically responses reflected tone, language, and context. Here's what that looks like visually. Both of these tree maps show responses to the question, what's the most memorable time you've had chewing gum? On the left are real human responses, on the right, synthetic responses generated through Panoplai, at the same time as the live fieldwork. The structure is nearly identical, surfacing the same themes, social and family moments, school experiences, taste and flavor memories, relaxation, and even funny mishaps. And when you look closer, you can see that alignment at the individual level as well. These pairs show responses to the same open-ended question with real responses on the left and synthetic responses on the right. The synthetic answers not only match the same topics, they mirror the natural storytelling rhythm of human language, humor, sensory detail, and emotional tone. Panoplai's data doesn't just replicate content, it reproduces context, delivering rich qualitative depth without additional fieldwork. Overall, the study achieved a B+ qualitative accuracy rating, and client feedback was incorporated into the model, helping improve how synthetic data is generated moving forward, both for this audience and across the Panoplai system. Despite this high alignment, accuracy can vary by audience, which is why the breadth and strength of your foundational data always matter. These benchmarks help Panoplai continuously refine and validate accuracy over time, so you can see where synthetic performs best and where real human data should lead. It's all about balance, using synthetic data to scale and accelerate insight while grounding every model in human truth. Synthetic data isn't a substitute for reality. It's an accelerant. It lets you protect privacy without sacrificing insight, close sampling gaps without overspending, and transform static research into a dynamic intelligence engine. At Panoplai, we automate the modeling so you can validate it, audit it, and trust it. This is the future of insight, where real and synthetic data work together to power confident decisions. Panoplai, the human data engine.
Wonderful. I'm now going to invite Kelsey back on stage with me for questions. But before we dive in, I just want to give a reminder, if you have any questions, you can pop them in that Q&A box and we'll start working our way through them. But to kind of kick off this Q&A portion, Kelsey, one of the questions here is, how do you ensure client data stays private when it connects to Panoplai's data universe?
Yes, it's a great question. So all of the data that you ingest into Panoplai is what we call a walled garden. And what that means is that your data is basically vectorized and anonymized before it's shared anywhere else. So even when it's connecting internally with the Panoplai data universe, our system isn't even able to see like the specifics. It's more about like the general kind of summary level topics. So that's that. And then when we share even our data externally with LLMs that we use, we are, do that again, the vectorization and summarization of these points to avoid sharing any sort of proprietary information externally as well.
Great, thank you. Another question we have here is, if there's a concept that you ask about with synthetic respondents that is outside of the concepts in Panoplai's data universe and the client's data, is there some of confidence estimate for the response from the AI? For example, if soda flavor preferences is nowhere in the foundational data universe.
Yeah, and that's a great question. So one of the things that we're working on introducing into the platform is a confidence score. So the ability to say, here's how confident we are in this response based on the underlying data, whether that be Panoply's foundational data or the client's foundational data. At the moment, what I would say to this question is, if there isn't data to predict, how someone would react to this concept, meaning if the soda flavor had never been discussed before in previous research, it's likely that the responses, may not mirror exactly how a real audience would respond. So.
Awesome. Could you share a little bit more about what kinds of questions perform best with synthetic data?
Definitely. Yeah. So it's more, I think, about like attitudinal and behavioral questions versus like emotional style questions. So in those types of questions, what we're really looking at is how frequently are you performing this behavior, or how likely are you to do X or Y? We have seen strength building over time from like that emotional context of like, when you think about this, what comes to mind, or what type of, memory do you have of doing this in the past? But, because those are more kind of, I think, individualized, like emotional responses, those are things that, it has been hard to replicate.
Great. Thanks, Kelsey. Another question just came in of how do you evaluate the validity of new questions to existing respondents and new synthetic studies?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think this goes back to a little bit of the that confidence score that we're working to build into the system. Essentially, what we do with pilot customers right now is to kind of prove the validity of the system by allowing them to do parallel testing. So we've done, a number of our own parallel tests between real participants and synthetic participants. And, we also allow clients to kind of do that with their own audiences. One of the things that, we've learned over time is that there's diminishing returns. So, you can upload hundreds of data sets, but you're likely okay with uploading, 10 data sets. So there's an element of diminishing returns between the number and breadth of research that you upload. So just enough is actually okay here.
Great. Here at Greenbook, our tagline is the future of insights. So to wrap up this demo, I'd love to ask you what's next for Panoplai?
Definitely. So that definitely the confidence scoring, that we're hoping to build into the system. And we're also incorporating in additional data sources. So not first-party consumer reported data like we all get from surveys, but more so metering data, how people are transacting, with their credit cards, how people are, shopping around online, those types of things, as well as some applications that may also track like where you're going, physically, maybe like through an app on your phone or something like that. So really trying to close that gap between what people say they're going to do and what they're actually doing.
Great, thank you. It looks like we are out of time. Before we wrap up, I do just want to remind the audience that all of the sessions from today's Tech Showcase will be available to watch back on demand using the same link that you used to join today. And of course, if you have any questions for Kelsey or the Panoplai team, please make sure that you reach out. In the post-event email that we're sending out, there will be a deck that, Lenny's session, but also has information on all the companies that presented today, and the LinkedIn for all of our speakers, including Kelsey. So with that, thank you so much for being here, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Friday.
Thank you. Bye.